Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Thursday. We are with you for the next 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our video streaming channels, WIBW News on Facebook and 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. However, wherever, whenever you're joining the program today, thanks so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. I'm with you for the duration today. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a little bit. Brendan Dorzinski is with Washburn basketball in Kansas City tonight. It's the Ichabod women making their debut in this year's MIAA tournament. The Washburn Ichabod women in action tonight. You will be able to hear them over on our sister station, your home for the Ichabods, Country 106.9. The pregame coverage is set for a 5:45 start, and the tip-off is scheduled for 6 o'clock as Washburn, it's the men tonight. I don't know why I got that backwards. It's the men tonight, it's the women tomorrow. My mistake. I apologize. The Washburn men in action tonight. They will take on Central Oklahoma in first-round action. Central Oklahoma beating Pittsburgh State last night. So it's Washburn against UCO, 6 o'clock pregame, and a 6 o'clock tip, 5:45 pregame. Sometimes you just wish you could start from the very beginning, don't you? Anyhow, Washburn men tonight against UCO. Brendan Dorzinski will be on the call from Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City at the MIAA tournament. So that's where he's at today. So in the 3 hours that we have together today, we have a jam-packed show. We've got three great guests to bring you today. Rick Peterson on Thursdays joins us every Thursday for the local sports spotlight. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on the MIAA tournament, the conclusion of the high school bowling season. Had a individual state champ in 6A boys bowling from the capital city yesterday. And, of course, a preview of championship weekend in sub-state basketball. We got 14 county teams playing for the right to go to the state tournament in basketball over Friday and Saturday nights. We'll get a preview of all of that with Pistol coming up at the bottom of this hour. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, CJ Moore from The Athletic will join us to talk college basketball here in this final week of the Big 12 season. We call it the Big 12 Hoops Breakdown. We'll pick CJ's brain on everything going on with the Big 12 and college hoops at large. He'll join us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Then at 5:25 today, Mitch Holthus is going to stop by, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, fresh off of a trip to the NFL's scouting combine. We arranged to bring Mitch on the show knowing he was going to be able to talk to us about what he saw, what he heard from the scouting combine. What we did not know when we arranged to bring Mitch Holtus on today, when we made those arrangements, was that Trent McDuffie was going to be traded 2 days earlier, or 1 day earlier. So we will obviously get Mitch's thoughts on the Trent McDuffie trade, where the Chiefs organization goes from here, and also his thoughts on what he saw, what he heard at the scouting combine. Voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holtus, joining us at 5:25 this afternoon. Speaking of that McDuffie trade, the dust starting to settle on that. That news broke yesterday, of course. We're going to chew on it a little more today. What are the Chiefs going to do at cornerback? Realistically, what are the paths forward at cornerback? And could the Chiefs end up just sort of starting from scratch in the defensive backfield? Is that advisable, or is that just what they're going to end up having to do if the newfound cap room that they've created is more heavily invested into other positions, namely running back and defensive line? Could we see a virtually brand new secondary for the Chiefs next season? And how good of an idea is that in a position room where, yes, they have drafted and developed their own in-house talent very well, but have also benefited from veteran knowledge and know-how, particularly on the back end? But for there to be turnover, or for there to not be turnover in the secondary, the Chiefs would have to do something they haven't done since 2017 and give a second contract to one of their own guys in the secondary. So that's why maybe it doesn't feel so likely that we're going to see, for instance, Jaylen Watson back or Bryan Cook back. But again, maybe that calculus changes after the Trent McDuffie trade. So we'll talk all about that. Some more reaction to the big Chiefs blockbuster trade from yesterday. Trent McDuffie sent to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for 4 draft picks, including number 29 overall in this year's draft. Plus, in addition to that, in addition to our 3 guests we have lined up for you today, we'll continue our countdown to Royals opening day. 22 days until the first pitch that counts. And speaking of the Royals, you'll get to hear them tonight right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. A night game in Surprise as the Royals take on the Texas Rangers. 7 o'clock pregame coverage. And if you want to watch the Royals, the debut of the new home, the new TV home of the Royals, Royals.tv, you will be able to stream the game live for free on your computer, on your streaming device of choice. If you have the MLB app, you'll be able to watch it for free. Game will be free and available to all to watch tonight on Royals.tv. Again, that's the new TV home of the Royals. As far as you cable subscribers, I don't know where they're going to put it tonight. I should probably look that up because I'm going to want to watch it if it's not on FanDuel Sports Network, which is kind of dying on the vine. But if you go to Royals.tv, you'll be able to watch the game tonight. And if you don't, and you just want to listen to the ball game, we've got you covered here on 580 WIBW. Again, 7 o'clock pregame coverage. We'll also do 580 Sports Talk headlines today. Another round of What Is Wrong With You, a little either or over under as well. All our typical Thursday fun. And I want to hear from you. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. That is open throughout the show. 785-272-9429. You can also interact with the program via the YouTube live chat. We have the live chat feature on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. And if you are watching the program live, hop in that live chat. Say hello, whether you're a regular like our friends Vance, Mark H., and Andrew, and Tyler, or you're just dropping by for the first time, maybe the first time in a while. Our friend from Overbrook is in the chat today. Welcome in. We look forward to hearing from you and others as we go along today in that live chat. And go subscribe to the channel, too. Doesn't cost you anything but a click. Go subscribe to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. All right. The Kansas City Chiefs cornerback depth chart, as it currently stands, a little thin, and a lot thinner after the trade of Trent McDuffie. And I guess we can start there, sort of just to bring it all back around to a final thought on the Chiefs making the trade that sent Trent McDuffie to the Rams for 4 draft picks. Right now, today, the Chiefs are a worse team than they were yesterday. Right now, this second, the Chiefs are worse off for not having Trent McDuffie on the roster. That's what usually happens when you trade an established veteran, all-pro level player for draft capital. You get worse in the extremely short term. But I am okay with the Chiefs trading McDuffie because I am not 100% comfortable with Trent McDuffie getting a market-setting contract at cornerback. I don't think he's quite that kind of player. And I don't mean to say he's not good, very good even. But if I'm going to reset the market for a player at a position, I better be damn sure that they're the best player at that position or close to it. When Tyreek Hill reset the market, the Chiefs obviously had reasons to not want to do that against their salary cap, and they turned Tyreek Hill into a nice little draft haul and were able to rebuild on the fly. Trent McDuffie was part of that 2022 draft, obviously, where the Chiefs were able to retool and turn around and win the Super Bowl right away. But Tyreek Hill receiving top of the market wide receiver money? Yeah, that made sense. He was a top of the market player at wide receiver. You give Patrick Mahomes top of the market money at quarterback? Yeah, obviously. Do you give Creed Humphrey top of the market money at center? Trey Smith top of the market money at guard? Yeah, I think you do. I think those players are top of the market players. I am less certain that Trent McDuffie is a top of the market cornerback because I think he is better in the slot. I think his ball skills are questionable. 3 interceptions in 4 years. He is not a playmaking defensive back. He is a very good coverage defensive back. Now, he's going to play well for the Rams. And if he were a bum, the Rams wouldn't have been willing to give up 4 picks for him. This is not one of those binaries, right? Like so often when we're talking about sports, we have the 2 binaries, right? Classic or trash, right? Good or sucks. And Trent McDuffie's really good. But do I think he is Derek Stingley good? Do I think he is Sauce Gardner good or Patrick Surtain good on the outside? I don't. I don't think he's in that class. And so I am not wild about the idea of making that player the highest paid at his position. And look, highest paid at the position doesn't always mean best at the position. Look at quarterback. For a minute there, Tua Tagovailoa was the highest paid quarterback in the league. Like, that's how resetting the market works. But if you even have a second of doubt as to whether or not a player is indeed worth a top of the market contract, then you shouldn't give it out. And you should look to do something else. And I have a little doubt that Trent McDuffie is a $30.1 million a year cornerback with a track record of 3 interceptions in 4 years. So I think that the Chiefs were justified in making this trade, that they came out very well when it comes to the draft capital that they acquired. I think if the Chiefs could have done a deal that maybe was closer to Surtain's $24 million a year, or even J.C. Horn's $25 million a year for McDuffie, I would have said, yeah, it's about right for a guy who I think is at his best in the slot, and the Chiefs should be looking for a way to keep him in the slot more often than they did last year when they had to play him on the outside because they didn't really have any other options, and Shamari Connor had to play in the slot all year and wasn't any good at it. But Derek Stingley, Sauce Gardner money for Trent McDuffie, I was a little bit concerned. May end up being the right thing for the Rams to do. But I think the Chiefs were justified in the end in making the trade. Even if it leaves the cornerback depth chart pretty thin because of the level of draft capital, the number of picks that the Chiefs were able to get back. Not just a late first-round pick this year, but also that future third-rounder is a really nice piece to have and could help the Chiefs move up in this year's draft to go get somebody they like, or next year's draft. But you're left with 2 guys on the current roster that you are even remotely comfortable with as starting cornerbacks. And those are Noel Williams and Christian Fulton. And let me ask you, honestly, on the text line, 785-272-9429, in the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in those 2 guys? Because that's what's coming back for the Chiefs at cornerback. Second year, Noel Williams, and Christian Fulton, the veteran who's in his second year with the team, but barely played last year due to injury and, I guess, having to learn how to play in the Steve Spagnuolo system. How confident are you in that group on a scale of 1 to 10? I can't get higher than a 5 or 6 because I do think there's a lot of promise for Noel Williams. I think he can be a good one. I think he could be a really good one. I like the nastiness that he plays with, the physicality. I think he's a good tackler. In college, he showed off ball skills. He's big enough to be a no-doubt outside cornerback. I feel good about Noel Williams' future. I'd like to have seen more of it last year to feel more confident, but definitely saw some flashes from Williams. And with Fulton, the concern is the injuries. But when he finally did get on the field at the end of last year, the final few games, I know they weren't playing a murderer's row of quarterbacks necessarily. Who they play in those final 3 games. Rookie Cam Ward, Bo Nix, and the cavalcade of bums that the Raiders rolled out there in Week 18. Oh, was it Jimmy G? Like, I don't even remember. I've tried everything I can to purge that game from my memory. But I do know this. In those final few games that Christian Fulton played, he was good. Like, legitimately good. Made some plays in coverage. Didn't get burnt over the top. So I think that there is a path to those two being starting caliber, starting level players for the Chiefs. Either of them as good as Trent McDuffie? No. But could both of them be starting caliber cornerbacks for the Chiefs in 2026? That's certainly within the realm of possibility. Behind those two on the depth chart, I go back to the point about Shamari Connor being used as a primary slot defender last year, and that can't happen again. Like, you have to go into this offseason looking for a different solution, because I think Shamari Connor is a good safety. I think Shamari Connor is not very good in coverage. And it's not just me saying this. It's not just my eyes saying this. We heard it all year long that Connor was a weakness. Connor was a liability in coverage situations. And if that's the case, he shouldn't be playing cornerback. If he's the safety next to free safety to be named later, whether that's a reunion with Bryan Cook, whether it's Jaden Hicks sliding over there, I don't feel like that's likely. It doesn't feel like Steve Spagnuolo is real wild about Jaden Hicks right now. But if it's strong safety, box safety, Shamari Connor, okay, you can talk me into that. Third safety, Shamari Connor, okay, fine. But I don't want him to be the primary slot defender next year. I think that Kevin Knowles, has a role to play. I think Chris Roland Wallace has a role to play, but I don't think those guys should be anywhere near first choice. I think you're a lot more comfortable with those guys as clear backups. So that means there's a void here, right? There's a void to fill at cornerback. How do the Chiefs go about filling it? First option would be to keep your own guy. Jaylen Watson about to hit free agency. Mike Garafolo went on NFL Network today and suggested that the Chiefs are now much more interested in a Jaylen Watson reunion. And you can definitely sell me on Jaylen Watson coming back. He's only allowed 1 touchdown in coverage the last 2 years. He's solid. And the caliber of player that he is stands to make a pretty good chunk of change in free agency. You think about last year's market. Guys out there who are similar caliber players, I would consider similar caliber players, DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward, Carlton Davis. Those guys were all signing contracts in the 16 to 18 million a year range, which is a lot. It's also not 30 million a year. So where does Jaylen Watson wind up in this market? Does he wind up close to what the market was bearing for corners of his caliber last year? Or does he wind up around Spotrac's valuation, which is about 12 or 13 million a year? I certainly like a player at the lower price, but I'm just for salary cap reasons, but I'm not going to begrudge Jaylen Watson if he says, yeah, if I'm not getting at least 16 million from Kansas City, I'm going to go get it from somewhere else. But it does sound like the Chiefs might be more seriously considering the idea of, again, doing something they haven't done since Eric Berry and giving a second contract to one of their own defensive backs. And even on a smaller scale, you wonder if the Chiefs might be more willing to look at a guy who is a free agent this year, like Joshua Williams or Nazeeh Johnson, somebody in that class, just for the idea of continuity in the room. Not with the idea that that player would come in and be a starter, but just for the sake of continuity. I think in that department, probably Johnson is a little more likely than Williams. I think Williams played his way into the doghouse, wasn't very good on special teams last year. I think it's better for all parties if there's a change of scenery there. Maybe Johnson comes back because he was a little bit more helpful on special teams. But if you're doing that, you're probably doing it with the belief that you've got 3 starters in Williams, Fulton, and maybe a draft pick to be named later. And that's the other option. The Chiefs use a late first round or early first round or an early second round pick on a cornerback. The consensus best corner in the draft is LSU's Mansour Delane. I have seen him mocked as high as number 10 to Cincinnati. So the idea that the Chiefs could use number 9 on Delane is not out of the question. I don't think the Chiefs want to use the number 9 pick on a corner. I think they are looking at scratching a much bigger itch with the highest draft pick that they will hope to have for the rest of the Patrick Mahomes era. Whether that's pass rusher or wide receiver or running back, they've got bigger itches I think they want to scratch at number 9. So then you start thinking about 29 or moving up from 29 to if you need to be aggressive, because there are a lot of teams late first round who are going to be interested in maybe adding in the secondary. The Broncos might need a safety. Certainly the Seahawks at 32 are going to be interested in a corner. The Chiefs pick above them, but like they're going to be a run on defensive backs potentially late in that first round. You'll see names like Avion Terrell of Clemson, Tennessee's Jermod McCoy, Colton Hood, also from Tennessee, Brandon Cisse from South Carolina. Those are the names that I've most often seen as cornerbacks in the late first round, early second round portions of mock drafts. McCoy is like the Josh Simmons of the cornerback position in this year's draft. Nobody denies the talent. Big question mark coming back from an injury. Tore his ACL, did not play in 2025 at Tennessee. The consensus is he's a top 10 talent that might not get drafted on the first day of the draft because he hasn't done any of the athletic testing yet. That's kind of sound like Josh Simmons coming off of the major injury he was coming off of, and the Chiefs getting the open box special at number 32 overall to fill a void, and now they've got their left tackle of the future. Maybe they see an opportunity to do something similar if Jermod McCoy falls to them at number 29. I like Avion Terrell a lot. I like his versatility. I think his profile is very similar to a Trent McDuffie. And I think there's a chance that he could be a McDuffie replacement right out of the box. I love Brandon Cisse's athleticism. He is super raw. I don't know that he would be immediately outstanding, but the athleticism would give him a chance. And it's interesting. It's the second straight year we're talking about a South Carolina defensive back with crazy athleticism, but like, do they know how to play the sport? And worked out okay for the Seahawks drafting Nick Eamon-Wari where they did. So you could certainly sell me on Cisse as well. I like the athleticism and I like the skill set that he provides. Colton Hood would be the one that doesn't make a lot of sense to me to the Chiefs. He's not as physical a player as the other ones we're talking about, not as good a tackler. I don't see the fit there. I don't think that's a Chiefs cornerback. But Terrell, McCoy, if they trust the medicals, Cisse, absolutely. At number 29, maybe a few picks higher, maybe a pick or two lower. I think those players could be fits for the Chiefs. And if you go into next season, particularly like, because I think Terrell and Cisse are slot defenders. One of those two, with Noah Williams and Christian Fulton, I don't think it's as good on paper as Trent McDuffie, Jaylen Watson, and then Williams and Fulton. It's not as good on paper at all. But if you're able to reconstruct the pass rush with some of your free agent dollars that you're not allocating to Watson, you're not allocating to McDuffie, that could potentially help out a younger and less experienced cornerback room. Be fascinating to see which direction they go. Which direction do you think the Chiefs should go? Do you want to see him re-sign Watson? Would you rather them fill a third starter spot at cornerback in the draft? How do you feel about Noah Williams and Christian Fulton as the top two corners on next year's depth chart? Let me know on the text line, 785-272-9429, or in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We'll get some of your response, some of your reaction when we come back. Rick Peterson at TopSports.news is going to join us about 10 minutes for the local sports spotlight. We've got CJ Moore talking college hoops in the 4 o'clock hour. Mitch Holtus, voice of the Chiefs, at 525. It's a jam-packed show today. Glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:34 on 580 Sports Talk. Just getting warmed up on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Couple of thoughts from the text line, or rather from the YouTube chat. You can text the show, 785-272-9429. The YouTube live chat is active, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Andrew asked why the Chiefs didn't franchise tag Jaylen Watson if they knew they were going to trade Trent McDuffie or even franchise Bryan Cook. Franchise tag would have locked them into paying Watson well over his market value. I'm trying to find those franchise tag numbers for 2026. And the franchise tender for a cornerback would have been $21.1 million for this season. And that's beyond Jaylen Watson's market value. I don't think they want to lock themselves in for 1 year at $21 million. Ditto Bryan Cook at safety. The transition number at safety is, or the franchise number at safety is $20.1 million. And those are just not numbers the Chiefs probably felt like were worth locking themselves into with those two players. That's well above the market value for both of those guys. So that's why I don't think you saw them franchised. Paul asks, with the money other quarterbacks are getting now, imagine the Chiefs not signing Mahomes when they did. Would the Chiefs reset the market for Patrick Mahomes? They will. I'll answer that. That's a real simple one. They will. The one thing the Chiefs have always done, when they have elite talent at positions of top-tier value, they will reset the market. And teams don't let, upper crust quarterbacks hit free agency once, maybe every 2 decades. It just doesn't happen. And it would not happen with Mahomes. They'll reset the market with him, no question. Tyler, I think, is right about a couple of different strategies the Chiefs are going to employ this offseason. Tyler says, solve the offense before you worry about the defense. I do think that this will be a draft and to an extent, I think a free agent process. But I do think you'll see a draft that is maybe more geared towards reloading the offense. Tyler says, also load up on the defensive line, let the chips fall where they may for coverage. Anybody can play back there, even if teams can't pass it. Left out an unfortunate letter in his comment there, so it ended up rated PG-13 on the screen. But yeah, teams, that's just it, right? To prop up a secondary, load up the pass rush. And we're going to get to this more in the 4 o'clock hour, but it sure sounds like the Chiefs are going to address defensive end and maybe even defensive tackle in free agency. That's where they've got a chance to get to $50 million under the cap, which really gives them a chance to make an impact addition or two in free agency. And I would not be surprised if those were on the defensive line. Which is why it might surprise me if they end up with either Jaylen Watson or Bryan Cook coming back next season. Mark H says he'd rather keep Watson than Cook. I think I'm on the opposite side of you there, Mark. I think I'd rather keep Cook just because he's a safety and the Chiefs, I think, have valued that position maybe more than they have valued cornerback. But what if neither of them return? We'll get to that in the 4 o'clock hour. What if the Chiefs are just completely going to rebuild the secondary from scratch? Well, one thing, and Tyler leaned on it there in his YouTube comment, if you're going to do that, you better get the pass rush settled. You better get that all figured out. And maybe free agency is how they'll do that. We got plenty more Chiefs to discuss in the 4 o'clock hour and at 5:25 with the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. When we come back, it's the local sports spotlight and lots to get to on that with the great Rick Peterson at TopSports.news on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for the local sports spotlight. Pistol joins us every Thursday at this time. He covers all things Washburn, Ichabod's, and Shawnee County High School sports for TopSports.news. And Pistol, today we reach you literally on the road to Municipal Auditorium for the MIAA tournament. How is I-70 treating you?
It's not too bad right now. Of course, Gene's the experienced person on this road, so we're good.
Yeah, tell Gene 10-2. Remember to keep those hands at 10-2. Washburn men tonight, they take on Central Oklahoma in their first MIAA tournament game. It gets lost a little bit because they dominated the MIAA regular season and then made their Final Four run. But Washburn lost their opening game at the MIAA tournament last season. How motivated are they to make sure that doesn't happen again?
Well, of course, I think they are, and, especially playing the same team. But, because UCO got them last year. So I think so. But, this is a team, and I talked to Jack Batchelor and Coach Ballard yesterday. This is a team that just always seems to be motivated. I mean, they have no trouble getting up for people. That's why they were so good on the road, which is hard to do. But they, their one loss was on the road to a very good team, and it went down the last possession. So they usually are really good about taking care of business. And Coach Ballard told me yesterday he could count on one hand the average or below average practices they've had since they started in October. He said they're a group that just takes care of business, and I think he expects to see that tonight.
The Washburn women play tomorrow. They'll play Pitt State at 2:15 in their quarterfinal matchup. The women are 6th in the most recent Central Region rankings. How good should they feel about making the NCAA tournament? Do you think that they're in regardless of what happens in Kansas City, or do you think they need a win to solidify their place in the Central Region and a return, a long-awaited one, to the NCAAs?
Well, I think they're in good shape, but obviously when you're dealing with pairings and rankings and the NCAA, you never want to take anything for granted. So I think they certainly want to get a win against Pitt State, a team they just beat by 15 or 16 a week or so ago. So I think they want to cement their spot, but I think they've deserved to be in regardless. I think Laura Westling's done just a great job with this program over the last 4 years. And I obviously don't have a vote, but she would have been my coach of the year just for the progress they've made.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joining us for the local sports spotlight here on 580 Sports Talk. We do it every Thursday at this time as Pistol joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Lots of high school basketball to get to. We'll get there in a second. But first, we had an individual state champion in bowling at the Class 6A state tournament yesterday. And a neat story. Washburn Rural's Cody Spangler had a really promising sophomore season. Really kind of dropped off, even by his own admission, struggled as a junior, got his game back and his groove back as a senior, and bowled his way to the individual state championship yesterday. What a great story, a comeback complete with a state title for the Washburn Rural senior.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you a little scoop here. You got a team champion already today. Shawnee Heights boys won their second team title in 3 years. And pretty decisively.
How about that? Well, congratulations to the Thunderbirds. We get to break a little news here on 580 Sports Talk. If you have not seen that, the 5A championship goes to the Shawnee Heights boys. Rural girls finished second in Class 6A. I know we always point out the bowling prowess in the capital city, Pistol, but boy, great! What a great start to state week for the local bowlers.
Yeah, and Megan Lincoln was second individually for the Washburn Rural girls. And then I really think, and it's going on right now, it's probably wrapping up about right now, I think Seaman girls had an excellent chance of definitely getting a trophy and making a run at the title.
We'll have to keep an eye on those results. We'll update those as events warrant here on 580 Sports Talk. Rick Peterson, our guest here on the local sports spotlight. Let's pivot now to sub-state basketball. We've got championship games. There are 14 Shawnee County teams playing for sub-state championships. And so we'll get to as many of them as we can here. We'll start with Friday's games. 6A girls action, both Topeka High and Washburn Rural going on the road in sub-state championship play. Rural hoping that they've hit their stride late in the season, as they so often do, but they've got a big task in front of them taking on Derby. Topeka High's got a long bus ride to go out to Liberal, but there aren't many teams in 6A playing better than Topeka High right now.
Well, I'm picking Topeka High. If they don't get lost along the way, I think if they can find Liberal, I'm picking them. They're just playing too good right now. I think they've played some good teams like Rural and Manhattan, some of those. And as far as Rural will really have to have a great defensive game. And Maddie Vickery and Brent Anderson will really have to play well to get them a chance, because I'll be honest with you, Derby's the best girls team I've seen this year.
They were outstanding at the Capital City Classic. Them and Wichita Heights. Those are the top 2 seeds in the 6A West in girls basketball. To 5A boys, game we'll have for you right here on 580 WIBW tomorrow night. Topeka West, number 2 seed out west in 5A, taking on Bishop Carroll. Old Dale Faber still coaching. He's back at Bishop Carroll, 18 years at Friends, 13 years at Bishop Carroll before that. One of my favorites that I've covered in my broadcasting career. He's got Bishop Carroll playing really good ball, and they almost knocked off Topeka West last season at Sub-State. So I have to imagine Christian Olsaker's Chargers have their antenna up. They know they're in for a challenge tomorrow.
Yeah, and you know that anytime you play Bishop Carroll. I mean, Bishop Carroll's the type of team that they're not going to wow you, but they're going to play really disciplined. They're going to run their stuff really well, and they're going to try to keep you from running your stuff. And they're always going to be good. And so I think it's a tough draw for West, but I really like the way West is playing.
Seaman is at home, the boys, against Hayes tomorrow night as well. Vikings trying to get back to state, and what we now know and can talk about publicly is Craig Cox's final season on the Viking bench, and they'll have a tough matchup in front of them, but I think they've got to feel good about getting over that first-round hump after they got upset in the first round last year. Yeah,
and they should, and they look like they played well, and I think I like the way they're playing. Kayvon Bonner's one of the absolute best players in the whole state. The key for them, particularly against a good Hayes team, Hayes also knows he's one of the best players in the entire state, and the Vikings are going to have some other guys step up and hit big shots and make big plays.
Shawnee Heights is at home on Friday night. The boys taking on Leavenworth, who stunned St. James Academy in their first-round sub-state game. Shawnee Heights swept Leavenworth pretty handily in the regular season. Do they have one more win in them to send Ken Darding back to state in his final season?
Well, you would think so. I like their chances, because St. James, the people who were talking to me thought St. James was the best team in the East. And so to get them knocked off, I think in what I consider the biggest upset in that first round anywhere in any class, boys or girls, I think that's good. You'd much rather have a team that you've played twice, beat twice. And I would like to see Kenny get one more trip to a familiar road he's taken to state championship tournaments in 3 different classes.
Other county and city teams in action Friday night. Hayden girls in 4A will be at home against upstart number 13 seed Baldwin. Silver Lake plays Perry-LeCompton in a 3A boys sub-state final. And Rossville, the number 9 seed in their 2A sub-state, their girls will take on Mauer Hill Mount Academy for the right to go to state. Now to Saturday, the 6A West sub-state. Topeka High goes out on the road to Mays after they beat Washburn Rural last night, and did it without a stellar three-point shooting night, which is not what they've done recently. They've really leaned on the 3, but proved they could win without a huge night from behind the arc. Could Robbie Sanders' team pull the upset? Mays is 18-5, but it hasn't been a strong 6A group this year. It feels like an upset is possible if Topeka High can let it fly from downtown.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that High all of a sudden they don't know how good they are, and they don't know how good the other teams are. So I think they play pretty fearlessly, and I don't think they're looking at that as they're a big underdog. I think they can play with anybody at this point in the season.
A game we'll have for you on Saturday night, a 5 o'clock tip-off from Tecumseh. Shawnee Heights, the number 2 seed in the 5A East sub-state, taking on the number 7 seed Pittsburgh. Another retiring coach, Bob Wells, trying to get that team back to state for the first time since 2016. And you talk about teams that are playing exceptional basketball. 19-1 since a 1-3 start. It's been a lot of fun watching that Thunderbird team come together this season, Pistol.
Yeah, and I talked to Coach Wells quite a bit last week, and he's just really enjoying this ride. And I was a little surprised he decided to call it quits this year with so much talent coming back. But he just thought it was a good time both to step aside from teaching and coaching. So obviously he wants to go out with a bang, and he's got the team that can do that.
Hayden's boys go on the road in Class 4A. They'll have to do something nobody's done all year long if they want to keep playing, and that's beat Atchison, the undefeated number 2 seed in that sub-state. But we know Hayden loads up their schedule with a purpose, and they won't play with any fear of the Phoenix on Saturday night. What's their road to an upset?
That's my upset special. I think they can go on the road. If they get good outside shooting and a strong inside game from Connor Hanukkah, I certainly think they can pull off the upset.
And lastly, Rick Peterson at TopSports.news. Care Paravel's never been to the Acacia State basketball tournament on the boys' side. They've got a chance. A game we'll have for you right here on 580 WIBW on Saturday night. They take on St. Mary's. Prolific offensive team, scored 89 points in a win over Valley Falls last night. But Care Paravel keeps finding ways to win. I think they've won 19 in a row. Do Chip Kiefer's boys have a chance to pull one more rabbit out of their hat?
Yeah, and St. Mary's is good, and they're going to be a tough draw for Care Paravel. But like you said, you got momentum, you got history, trying to make history. I think they'll play. I think they'll give them a good go.
Rossville boys against Kansas City Christian. Silver Lake girls against Riley County, also in sub-state finals from the county on Saturday. Rick Peterson and his staff will have it all covered at TopSports.news, your home for info on Shawnee County High School sports and the Washburn Ichabods. Pistol, tell Gene to keep it at the speed limit, maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour above, and safe travels to Kansas City, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thank you.
That is Rick Peterson. We'll take a break. We're overdue for one. Wrap up the first hour of 580 Sports Talk next. Our thanks again to Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for joining us. To reset, obviously, huge weekend of basketball here on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Tomorrow night, we'll have a single game for you. 6 o'clock tip-off from the Charger Dome. Topeka West versus Bishop Carroll in 5A boys sub-state championship action. Then we've got a doubleheader for you on Saturday. First up, it'll be yours truly from Shawnee Heights. The Shawnee Heights girls against Pittsburgh. 4:40 pregame, 5 o'clock for the tip-off of that one. Then following that, we're going to send it out to our pal Trenton Kraxner in Eskridge. He'll have action from 2A boys sub-state championship play as Cape Harreville tries to go to state for the first time ever as a Acacia member. They are taking on St. Mary's. Hope you'll join us for the hoops the next couple of nights as state berths are claimed across the Sunflower State. Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, could the Chiefs really rebuild their entire secondary from scratch this offseason? They might not have a choice. Plus, CJ Moore and What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. Well, let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. Thanks so much for being with us on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, WIBW News on Facebook, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis with you for the next 2 hours, with you until 6 o'clock tonight. At 7 o'clock, we hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Got a little Cactus League hardball for you tonight as the Royals take on the Rangers. 7 o'clock pregame, they go right into it in the spring training broadcast. No long pregame. First pitch is scheduled for 7:05. So they'll say hello, and they'll get you right to baseball on the Royals Baseball Network tonight. You can hear the Royals take on the Rangers from Surprise, Arizona. Following that, it's the K-State Coaches Show tonight. Wyatt Thompson will talk to interim men's head basketball coach Matt Driscoll and baseball head coach Pete Hughes on the program tonight. We will air that following Royals baseball. And then before we reconvene, we'll have more K-State women's basketball because in case you missed it earlier today, the Midi Cats are still alive, a 21-0 run in the final 7.5 minutes to upset the 17th ranked team in the country, Texas Tech, and advance to the quarterfinal round of the Big 12 women's basketball tournament. Next up for the Wildcats, a game against Oklahoma State tomorrow morning. These gals like the 11 a.m. tip-off. It agrees with them. So a 10:30 pregame and an 11 a.m. tip from the T-Mobile Center tomorrow. You'll be able to hear it again right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
They like being the first players in the morning to get on the LED court.
Clearly, and get it to their liking. So
yesterday it was the 3-pointers. Today it was a 21-0 run. What are we going to see tomorrow?
Who knows? Hopefully nobody injure themselves on this court that all the players are complaining about.
Or social media is complaining about.
No, it's not social media. The players are saying, yeah,
social media is also
kind of scuffy.
Too.
Well, they're complaining about the design. We're talking about the actual how the court is playing. Players are not uniformly thrilled that it plays a little different. The ball bounces a little different. There are spots where you slip a little bit. This brand new LED court. Look, whoever was going to be the first adopter of this thing, there were always going to be some issues. But
I mean, most of these teams have practiced on that court if they've gone to Orlando.
They practice on, yes, but.
So they've been on it before.
Been on it doesn't mean they like how it plays. And there have been a couple of players who said, yeah, we don't really, not really loving how the ball bounces or how our footing is on this court. On the plus side, though, the design sucks and everybody hates that. They had that terrible design last year that everybody killed them for. And so then they say, all right, cool. We're going to go get a court where we could change the design. We can make the design anything we want. We could switch it anytime we want. We could just fire up the iPad and change what the court looks like anytime we want. But we're going to make it look terrible the entire time the game is being played.
Yeah, I personally think it'd be cool to have the Big 12 championship logo in the middle, but on whatever side the team scores on, have their home court.
I just think it would be cool to have no nonsense logos and markings in between the 3-point lines. Just get rid of those. If it's gray, it's whatever. Yeah, I thought they'd explore the space a little bit more with some of the logos and some splashes of color in play. I understand how that could probably be a little distracting, but yeah, it's just the same court design they used last year and everybody hated, except now it's being projected onto an LED screen.
And then today
instead of actually painted onto the court.
Today they added a darker half court.
Oh, they had to do that. If you watched the first game yesterday, they needed to do that. They needed to get the iPad at halftime of the first game yesterday and because there was the point where they flat out missed a half court violation because nobody could see where the midcourt line was. So one of those things that in theory need idea, in execution, not entirely sure this is a hit, but it is different, and it is people are talking about the Big 12 women's basketball tournament.
I saw one thing on social media last night. So there was supposed to be an All-State sponsor logo behind, under the basket, where they would throw it in from. Well, That's also a part where if you go up and get physical, like you kind of fall down right there to the, if you're looking at the basket to the right of the basket, I think that panel broke because there are multiple falls there. So it just said LL State.
Yeah, like again, in theory,
and half their logo.
Neat idea. In execution, I don't know. I don't know how we can say it's being executed. They just got to, I'll say this for execution, for the execution of whoever came up with that court design. I'm for it.
Hey, it hasn't been hacked yet.
It's not hackable. The conference has come out and said, no, you cannot hack this, which to me, if I were a world-class hacker, that would sound like a challenge. That would sound to me like they were daring me to try.
Which of these Big 12 schools has a cybersecurity school?
That's honestly a good question. I don't know how many cybersecurity programs there are at the Big 12 member institutions. Coming up on the program, we're going to talk some Big 12 hoops and college basketball. CJ Moore of The Athletic. He'll join us at the bottom of this 4 o'clock hour. Also, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us in the 5 o'clock hour today. 5:25, we'll be joined by Mitch. First time we've had a chance to catch up with the voice of the Chiefs since the end of the regular season. Mitch was at the scouting combine and so agreed to come on this week. And we booked the time, and then the Chiefs traded Trent McDuffie. So not only are we going to talk about Mitch's time at the scouting combine, we're also going to talk about the fallout from the Trent McDuffie trade. Mitch will join us at the 5 o'clock hour at 5:25. We also still got headlines. What is wrong with you to get to? We're going to talk some Chiefs here. An interesting quote from a Nate Taylor story at ESPN.com that I want to get to here in just a bit. I want to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. 785-272-9429 is the number. You can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. Hop on in the live stream, say hello, interact amongst yourselves and with your hosts, and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community one post at a time on our live chat on 580 Sports Talk. So Nate Taylor this morning published a story with the headline, Why the Chiefs Traded All-Pro Cornerback Trent McDuffie. And the why of it is not especially hard to follow or suss out at this point. That the Chiefs decided, and I'll quote from the article here, that it was more important to revamp and reload their roster to remain Super Bowl contenders than sign McDuffie to an extension that could have potentially made him the highest paid cornerback in league history. Highest cornerback in league history, I believe, was Pac-Man Jones. Anyway, that was a joke. You can laugh. So the why of it is understandable. And we talked about this yesterday. Some brought it back up at the top of the show. Trent McDuffie was going to run a reset the market at cornerback. And if you were the least bit not comfortable doing that, if you were only 99% comfortable doing that, then you needed to explore trade options. And in the end, what the Rams were willing to part with in a trade was an offer that the Chiefs could not turn down with as many holes they have on their roster and with as much need as they have to fill those holes with, call it what it is, cheap labor. Young players on rookie contracts. The cheapest labor there is in the NFL. The Chiefs only had 6 draft picks entering this draft. They now have 9. With now 9 draft picks, it's easy to see them maybe moving 1 or 2 of those as part of a package to maybe even move up and enhance their draft position, maybe on day 1, perhaps on day 2, or early day 3 as well. There was also this note, though, from Taylor's article that I thought was interesting. So I'll read again from the article from Nate Taylor. When the offseason began, the Chiefs were more than $57 million over the cap. By trading McDuffie, the Chiefs saved $13.6 million against the salary cap. Earlier this offseason, the Chiefs released right tackle Juwan Taylor and defensive end Mike Dana in cap trimming moves. The team also restructured Patrick Mahomes' contract last month. The Chiefs can create even more cap space, having more than $50 million available to them next week when free agency starts, by releasing linebacker Drew Tranquill and tight end Noah Gray while restructuring Jones's contract. Quick aside before I finish quoting from the article, I think they're going to release Tranquill and Gray. There's too much smoke around that now not to be some fire. And I would now almost anticipate that both of those players will be released before the start of the new league year. Tranquill would save $6 million under the cap. Gray would save $40 million under the cap. But back to the last sentence of this from Taylor, not the last sentence of the article, but the last sentence I'll quote here. That extra money will likely be directed at two key positions, running back and pass rusher. This is where the Chiefs are most obviously barren on their roster. Their running back room was the worst in the NFL last year. And unless Chris Jones won his matchup immediately, the Chiefs could not rush the passer, could not get consistent pressure with four. A little bit of that was due to George Karlaftis playing through an injury the second half of the season, but not enough of it to where you say, oh, healthy Karlaftis is going to fix a lot of this. Healthy Karlaftis next year will help, but it's not going to fix it. You fix it by adding more talent, by throwing more talent at the problem. And that talent costs money on the free agent market. So if the Chiefs do end up with around $50 million under the salary cap, I think it's pretty easy to see a good chunk of that going to, well, first running back, where I don't think they need to spend crazy. Like, that's not going to be a contract that's going to cost them a lot of money. Could they get Travis Etienne done for $10 to $12 million a year against the cap? I think they probably could. Could they get Tyler Algier done for less than that? I'm sure they could.
I saw somebody, I can't remember who it is, one of these talking heads. Oh, I'm trying to remember. I told Brennan about this off the air the other day. That $13 million that they saved, could they cut for that saved $13 million?
They ain't cut. They traded McDuffie.
Or traded McDuffie, yes. Could be used for Kenneth Walker because that's about what this person thinks Kenneth Walker's cap hit would be.
So the franchise number was $14 million, and the Seahawks didn't want to do that for Kenneth Walker. And usually if you're deciding that you don't want to franchise a player, you're deciding, I don't think that player is worth that kind of money for 1 year. I don't think that is the value of that player. So if that is true, that the Seahawks don't believe that Kenneth Walker's a $15 million a year running back, then that he probably comes in at a little less than that if he does hit the free agent market. I obviously I like Kenneth Walker a lot. Yeah. He'll always be my guy, Super Bowl MVP. And if the Chiefs are chasing explosive plays, he is one of the best explosive play generators in the league. I think there's a little bit more consistency and a little bit more utility with Travis Etienne. Like, it's boom or bust with Kenneth Walker, and the busts are so frustrating just because that's the kind of player he is. Like, he's always looking for that big play, and when it doesn't hit, it's going to lose yards. It's not like, oh, I'm looking for this 40-yard run, but I'll still get 3. No, he's looking for that 40-yard run. He might lose 5. Like that's the Kenneth Walker experience. You might prefer a little bit more stability, maybe a bit more 3-down utility, which Kenneth Walker does not have. Even with his backfield mate, Zach Charbonnet, injured in the playoffs, a guy you all have never heard of named George Holani got a bunch of 3rd-down snaps in the Super Bowl because Kenneth Walker's not a pass protector. And look, you can get too wound up on what a player isn't, and it can cause you to obscure like the talent that Kenneth Walker does have. But I think I would prefer Etienne if I were the Chiefs, or maybe even Algier at a lower dollar value if it would help you spend some other money elsewhere. But anyway, we're a little bit off track because the real interesting note I thought from Taylor was the idea that they will spend free agent capital on pass rushers, and those guys don't come cheap. The names mentioned in the article include Boye Mafe of the Seahawks, Bradley Chubb of the Dolphins, who, great player, always hurt. I wouldn't touch Bradley Chubb because if I touched him, I would be afraid he would go on IR. Jaylen Phillips of the Eagles, Kwity Paye of the Colts, also John Franklin Myers of the Broncos comes up. If I am the Chiefs, I would run, not walk to get something done with John Franklin Myers. That is a damn good football player. And the interior pass rush presence next to Chris Jones that could really unlock more production for Jones as he advances into the back half or the back end of his career. But anyway, those guys don't come cheap. Those guys are going to sign, $15 to $18 million a year contracts. And the Chiefs need a lot on the defensive line. And if they invest heavily enough on the defensive line, then maybe that alleviates the pressure on what looks to be a secondary that the Chiefs might have to remake on the fly. I mentioned this at the top of the show. The Chiefs have not given a second contract to a defensive back since Eric Berry in 2017. That includes cornerbacks and safeties. Eric Berry, who was a perennial Pro Bowl, All-Pro player, and I thought was on a Hall of Fame track before the injuries. He was the last one.
Yeah, Brendan and I hit on that last night.
To get a second contract. So, with Jaylen Watson in free agency and with Bryan Cook in free agency, the Chiefs would be breaking tendency to give a second contract to either of those players. If the Chiefs are going to divert their cap resources towards a starting running back, a starting edge, and a starting defensive tackle, does it even leave room for the return of Jaylen Watson, who might make 16, 18 million a year, or Bryan Cook, who might be in a 10 to 15 million a year range? And if those players don't come back, how confident are you in a secondary that would, in that instance, likely feature at least 2 rookie starters? Because then you put yourself in a situation right now, like if Bryan Cook were coming back and if Jaylen Watson were coming back, in that world, I would feel like the Chiefs could lay out, let the draft come to them, and go best player available at 9, 29, and 40. I really do believe that. But I think the departure of McDuffie and the potential departures of Watson and Cook put the Chiefs in a spot where they have to address secondary early. And look, Brett Veach has shown a willingness to do that. He has done it 3 times. Trent McDuffie was a first-round pick. Juan Thornhill was a second-round pick. Bryan Cook was a second-round pick. And all of those guys ended up being, maybe not in Cook's instance, he played quite a bit as a rookie, but I guess you wouldn't call him a starter. But Thornhill was a starter right away, and McDuffie was a starter right away. The Chiefs could get a starter right away in the defensive backfield. Could they get 2 in the top 40? The safety class, I don't know, breaks in the Chiefs' favor in this draft. I don't know that they can count on Caleb Downs being there at number 9. He's the one slam dunk safety to go probably top 5. I like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo a lot, but number 9 is probably too high for him, and number 29 might be too low. Dylan Tiedemann from Oregon, probably not a top 10 pick, definitely not a bottom of the first round pick. So again, Chiefs are kind of in an awkward spot there. And then there's a big fall off between those 3 and the rest of the safety class. So if you don't get one of those 3 guys, you're going into next year and all of a sudden putting faith in a player that Steve Spagnuolo publicly does not have faith in Jaden Hicks, along with whatever else you get in free agency. That's if Bryan Cook doesn't return. So if the Chiefs don't reunite with Watson or Cook, they're looking at having to rebuild the entire defensive backfield pretty much overnight. You're starting with Hicks, Connor, Fulton, Noel Williams, and like Chris Rowland Wallace. Those are your guys you have on hand. Kevin Knowles are your top 6.
I think they're banking on Noel Williams making a big jump this year to be your number 2.
And that's fine. Like if you're betting on one guy, if you're saying, okay, we need one guy to take a big step forward, I'm fine with that. And I think Noel Williams showed enough as a rookie that that's a reasonable enough bet to make. But what you don't want to be in a position of is you need 3 or 4 guys to make a big step forward, all in the same offseason. As much faith as the Chiefs have in their secondary development, as much faith that they should have in their ability to develop defensive back talent, that is veering dangerously close to being a little bit high on your own supply.
But I also think that this shows trading McDuffie and getting that salary out of there really shows that they believe in, and a healthy offseason will show that Christian Fulton could be a viable member of the secondary.
It's not, can he be viable? He is a starter. They need 17 games of Christian Fulton right now.
But
because there's no one else.
Because there's nobody else.
Right.
Because they could have cut ties with him.
Well, that's what we said. Those are their starters. Like, that's the top of the cornerback depth chart right now.
But there was a way, I think Brendan and I looked at this, that you could have cut ties with Fulton and gotten some money off the cap.
$10 million. We would have saved $10 million cutting Fulton. That's obviously not going to happen now.
No. But I'm saying $13 million. I mean, I guess it was the draft picks that really mattered for them in the McDuffie deal, right? You're not going to get draft picks for cutting Christian Fulton.
No.
But I'm saying it was close. That number is close. 10 and 13 and a half is close.
Yes, that is correct.
So,
10 and 13 are indeed close. The point that I'm trying to make here, though, is that the Chiefs are the top 6 defensive back the Chiefs have right now are not sufficient. They need to add at the position. And if they aren't going to bring back their own guys, like you feel differently if Watson and Cook are both coming back. Because you feel like, okay, yeah, Watson can start on the outside. I've got 3 starting caliber cornerbacks. I've got the leader of my safety room, and then we can figure out Hicks and Connor, and then we can let the draft board come to us. And if Emmanuel McNeil-Warren's there at 29, maybe we jump at him. Or if Avion Terrell's there at 29, he's our slot guy, and we really like him. We can let the draft board come to us. But if you go into this offseason period and you need both a starting safety and a starting cornerback, because the Chiefs do need both of those, all of a sudden the draft kind of gets a little wonky for you, because starting safety, you're not getting one probably at 29 unless McNeil-Warren falls. And even he's a bit of a gamble coming from Toledo. He's got a little bit of a Nicky Manwari to him, where obviously that was a huge success for the Seahawks, but there was no guarantee of immediate success. You had to develop that player and mold that raw talent very quickly. And the Seahawks did that to their credit, and the Chiefs will believe that they can do something similar. But they're going to put themselves in a position where that is something they have to get, while they also have to add skill position talent. And they also have to add edge talent and get young at some really important spots elsewhere. They lock themselves into needing that secondary help. That's why I do think that they will bring at least one of Watson or Cook back. I think it's going to be Cook. I just think that makes the most sense.
I mean, I feel like you have to.
As trusted as he is by Spagnuolo, as much experience as he has at safety, the Chiefs have done second contracts for safeties. Not necessarily their own guys, but they've signed reliable veterans at that spot and brought them in. Guys like Tyrann Mathieu, guys like Justin Reed. Bryan Cook, to me, is the one guy that if you bring him back, then all of a sudden you feel set at safety. You're less concerned about that position, and then you can draft cornerback according to your needs. If you decide that's your biggest need and they fall in love with Mansour Delane in the draft process, fine, pop him at 9. Or you can wait for 29, where I think there's going to be a day one starter available for them at 29. Or you can use some of that mid-draft capital you've all of a sudden acquired, move up a couple of spots and make sure you get your man if it's Jermod McCoy or if it's Avion Terrell.
I got one thing. What would you think about a guy like Greg Newsome in the free agent market?
Free agent corners for the Chiefs have not been, like, again, how long did it take Christian Fulton to get himself acclimated last year?
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at the list.
I'd rather pay Watson if you're gonna pay somebody in that $15 to $18 million a year range, which I think Newsome falls in. If you're going to pay somebody in that range, just bring Watson back, right? Like, Newsome's really good. I think Watson's in that tier of player, that caliber of player, and he knows the system. I think at that point, you just bring Watson back if you're going to spend that kind of money on corner in the free market.
It is interesting to look at the list of free agents that are corners, though.
We'll take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. We'll come back with What Is Wrong With You. CJ Moore's going to join us in about 10 minutes here on the program as well. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. We've got two new stories today and a theme to the stories today. Trying to take down our current weekly champion, not working hard, hardly working. The former Jacksonville police officer who ran up 3 months of fraudulent overtime hours and pay while he was hanging out with his boss, who he was also sleeping with. The boss is also no longer employed. Fake overtime. 14 grand in fake overtime.
Are they making him pay back the overtime?
I would imagine restitution would be part of any settlement there. All right, two new stories today. Like I said, there's a trend here. We'll go first with my story in Ewing Township, New Jersey, where 3 suspects have been charged in connection with an incident at a Wendy's last weekend. It happened February 21st at Wendy's. Officers responded after 3 customers became disorderly and broke a drive-through window. 23-year-old Honesty Harrison, 18-year-old Sanaya Brittingham, and 19-year-old Leah Williford Stevens, all of Trenton, damaged property inside the restaurant and attempted to assault employees with various items just before 3 a.m. Man, must be a 24-hour Wendy's. Which
those are very few far in between now.
There have been many times in my life I've wanted to desired a 24-hour Wendy's. Police did not say what might have sparked this confrontation. I have not watched the video footage, but apparently it's disturbing enough that one person quoted in the article from 6abc.com, Don Hemsey of Ewing Township, says, quote, "I've never seen a video with such violence and destruction in my life." These young people were wilding out at the Wendy's.
I guess so.
I don't know. Maybe they were upset that they were out of chili. Who knows? I cannot speculate. But they broke in through the drive-through window and started raising absolute hell inside the Wendy's at 3 a.m. That just sounds like a bad time for everyone involved.
Yeah.
See if you can spot the theme. Spencer, what's your story?
Yeah, we're going to go to Paris, Texas, about 100 miles northeast of Dallas, as a Texas Whataburger manager smashed an unruly customer with a trash can after the suspect allegedly berated staff and then returned to the restaurant drunk and attacked the employee. The viral beatdown erupted after Anthony William Newhouse was ordered out of the chain's restaurant there in Paris. He was ordered out after he allegedly stormed off, but vowed to return later. So he said, "I'm going to be back here.
And I'm going to beat up the manager."
Assaulted the manager once the cops cleared out. That was before he allegedly charged back in and unleashed a violent attack before the manager retaliated. There's shocking video footage shows the manager swinging a trash can at the suspect as workers shout for someone to press the panic button, which I didn't know was a thing.
So he also got waylaid by a wire fry basket. You can see in his mugshot that the wire fry basket did some serious damage
to
the man's floor. He got hella staples up in that thing.
Yeah.
Man, look, if you make a threat and you come back, try to deliver on that threat, just know the Paris, Texas Whataburger, they're not messing around.
Yeah, well, then he went to jail and he continued to cause havoc, allegedly flooding jail cells and racking up an additional criminal mischief charge under $750.
Well, real prize. I'm going to go with What a Beatdown as our winner today. But I think the guy clocking fake overtime and sleeping with his boss is still going to.
I think that's going to be a wall-to-wall.
It's going to be. Yeah, we'll see how Friday goes. But that's going to be a tough one to beat on What Is Wrong With You. CJ Moore of The Athletic joins us next. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by CJ Moore of The Athletic. He is the best college basketball writer in the country, and he joins us Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk for the Big 12 basketball breakdown on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. CJ, the Kansas Jayhawks aren't a very good offensive basketball team, and that's been really kind of exacerbated what we've seen the last two times out on a 0-2 trip through Arizona and Arizona State. What is the main reason you think that this Kansas team, for really a third straight year now, I know it's different personnel, but it's 3 straight years that Kansas has been outside the Ken Pom top 50 in offense as it currently stands, or outside the top 50 this year? What's the biggest reason that they have not found that offensive rhythm this year?
Oh, man. Well, obviously it was supposed to be built around Darren Peterson and his in again, off again, in again, off again. That circus hasn't helped necessarily. I think they've kind of been in a rut lately, mentally, trying to get him back in there and figure out everybody's roles. But Celso usually had really good inside players. He did have that the last couple of years with Hunter, at least from an offensive standpoint. Flory is a good rim roller, and but man, he has a yips right now. I think not having much retention and a whole new roster, there's just a multitude of reasons, but usually Bill Self has 3 or 4 guys in the starting lineup that have been around for a few years and understand his system and understand what he wants, and he just doesn't have that right now. And you hear him talk about, man, we just need more ball and body movement, and he says those kinds of things over and over again. And for whatever reason, this crew hasn't really gotten it, and I think there's obviously some limitations with them offensively with just some of the skill sets.
Peterson was 3 for 18 from the field on Tuesday night, and I didn't think his shot selection was all bad necessarily. He just seemed, and he seemed in the Arizona game too, like he's still searching sort of for a bit of a consistent rhythm on his shot. Are you seeing a Peterson that maybe moving around a little better the last couple of games? You haven't seen him sub out of a game early or have to leave a game due to cramps in the last few. But the offense, the shooting has slipped a little bit. Do you think that's just a player that's a bit out of rhythm right now?
Yeah, I've actually, I think I've been encouraged by the way he's attacking, and he's actually, the last game, he actually made some plays for other people. I think eventually, maybe, if they can find some kind of rhythm, his gravity will help others. And Trey White has kind of come back on, and I think Peterson being out there has helped him. Flory got great, for the most part, pretty good shots the other night. He just missed them. So I think him being out there is good for him. I like his aggressiveness. I think he's a good enough shooter that eventually those shots are going to fall, and he just kind of has to find his rhythm.
I've only really watched Arizona State play twice this year. It was their game against Kansas State early, and it was Tuesday night against Kansas. Only 2 times I've really dialed in on Arizona State. And both times, Masamba Diop has looked like the best collegiate big man since Lou Alcindor. At the very least, he's looked like the best rim protector since a young Dikembe Mutombo was roaming the paint at Georgetown. I don't know how much you've gotten to see Diop, but when you talk about underrated players in this conference and guys who slip under the radar because their teams haven't been good, this kid's got a chance to be special if whoever the next coach is at Arizona State can keep him around, doesn't he?
Yeah, I imagine he'll be one of the most expensive guys in the transfer portal, either to retain there or move on to a new spot. He'll be the shot making, the shot blocking, the way he can move at his size. I mean, he's a guy NBA teams I think are interested in. He could probably get drafted if he wanted to, but he can probably make the most money next year in college basketball, and I imagine he'll be a hot commodity.
CJ Moore of The Athletic joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. This is the Big 12 basketball breakdown. We do it Thursdays throughout the Big 12 basketball season. So given that loss for Kansas on Tuesday night, is it cause for longer-term concern about the trajectory of the team, or do you just sort of feel like that's a performance that represents the floor and represents maybe an issue that Kansas has against teams that protect the paint really well defensively the way that Arizona and Arizona State do?
Yeah, I think if you look at the teams that they've lost to, especially the ones that they, like you would say, they shouldn't have lost those games, right? Their team, they all have like 7-footers on the roster. They all kill them on the boards. We're able to get a good number of offensive rebounds. And like Flory's I don't think he's that tall. And so he can struggle finishing over bigger guys. And, those bigger guys can sometimes score over the top of him. While he's an awesome defender and he's awesome away from the basket, you get him in deep and you can score over him. So, I think that it'll be important for Kansas to like hopefully avoid teams that are huge up front. And I just think it was like coming off that Arizona game. It's kind of like playing Houston the last couple of years. There's almost a hangover the game after when you play Houston because they just would physically beat the crap out of you. And I think there might have been a little bit of that from Arizona. And not only do they physically beat the crap out of you, but like they hurt your confidence because like it's so hard to score against them. So I think Kansas was battling a little of that in that game. I believe I saw somebody say like most Arizona's home wins this year, I believe, follow that team playing at Arizona right ahead of time. So, this isn't the first team that's kind of happened to.
I think I saw that same stat too, CJ. 5 of the 7 conference wins for Arizona State have come in the game after the team they are playing has played Arizona. So,
even like Texas Tech, like they lost to Arizona State right after they played Arizona, even though that's a game they won, but still.
So Kansas's trajectory, we think, can still be rectified. There's the matter, though, of BYU, who, since they've lost Richie Saunders, have looked totally at sea. They got blown out by UCF, and then the last time out, Tuesday night, they got rinsed by Cincinnati in Cincinnati. How much trouble is BYU in? Is there any recovering this, or are they just that much missing the presence of Saunders and what he gave them?
I think it's not like they were killing it with Richie in the lineup. They were 6-5 in Big 12 games when he got hurt. So, and they hadn't beat anybody good. They were just beating the teams that they should beat, right? So it's hurting that department. But I think that this team just isn't as good as it was a year ago, and that I think they'll have some questions to kind of answer amongst themselves on, okay, here, how do we build this roster? How should we build going forward? Their bench was really, really good last year, and that was a big strength. They had a lot of shooting last year, and that was a big strength, and they only have like a couple shooters this year, right? The ball really moved. There was no there were no ball stoppers really last year, and this year they have 2 guys that are, really, really have the ball in their hands a lot. And then the defense has just been bad. So, I think that they'll probably, while they had like the 3 stars, there was probably some roster construction problems for them when you look big picture.
CJ Moore of The Athletic is our guest on the Big 12 basketball breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. 8 teams in the league currently sit with 20 wins with 1 conference game plus the conference tournament left to go. Arizona, Houston, Texas Tech, Kansas, Iowa State all know they're getting into the NCAA tournament. TCU, UCF, BYU are the other 3. BYU's got the resume. They feel like they're probably a solid lock. How should TCU and UCF feel? Do they feel like should they feel like they're on the good side of the bubble right now, or do they have a little bit more proving it to do?
I think TCU is definitely probably has a little bit of work left to do. UCF, I'm looking at Torvik right now. He projects them as a 9 seed. It's hard to see a 9 seed falling out with a week within this last week here. So I think UCF is probably in good shape, but TCU, my advice to TCU is just probably avoid bad losses and win the games you're supposed to win, and you're probably good.
Forget which game I was watching. I think it might have been Houston, Kansas. And Fran Fraschilla was talking about Kelvin Sampson saying that late in the season is where you find out what your weaknesses are. And so we've seen some teams that have resided, top 25, maybe top 10 adjacent all season long that have started to struggle down the stretch a little bit here, taking some tough losses. Iowa State had a rough run of results a little bit ago. Nebraska has struggled to regain their footing at times. Do you put a lot of stock into teams struggling in late February, early March as the tournament approaches? Or do you think that this is a chance for those teams to really find out what their weaknesses are and still believe that a lot of those teams have a chance to right their respective ships going into conference tournament and NCAA tournament play?
Oh, man, there's a lot there. I think that the one thing that's nice about the postseason is, you go through this 2-month period of playing teams in your conference, and they know all your weaknesses, and they know how to attack you. And, man, February really drags on, even though it's the shortest month, right? And so I do think there is something to, like, teams can get a new life once the NCAA tournament arrives because they actually get to play some new competition. And that's why you've seen some teams through the years, like maybe Syracuse has struggled in the ACC and then gone on like a Final Four run. So I do think it is possible, but I also think it's best if like you're a team that doesn't have a ton of weaknesses and you're winning games going into the tournament and you're feeling good about yourself and the vibes are good, and then the tourney starts and you're entering it with confidence.
Last thing I want to ask you, CJ, 2 marquee college basketball matchups this weekend. We've got the classic North Carolina-Duke on Saturday night. North Carolina won the first meeting at the Dean Dome on that buzzer beater there at Cameron Indoor in the regular season finale. And then Michigan State, Michigan at Chrysler Arena in Ann Arbor on Sunday. 2 bangers to round out the regular season. I've been of the belief, and I think you have as well, that Duke and Michigan are 2 of the 3 very best, and maybe even a cut above with Arizona, the rest of college basketball. Do you like the home teams and the higher-ranked teams in those matchups? Which of those games do you think, I guess, to make the question a little simpler for you, which of those games do you think will end up the most competitive of the 2?
Probably Michigan State. I think Michigan State, in the way it can kind of muck up games with its physicality and its defense, probably has the best shot at upsetting Michigan and on the opposing floor. The fact that Michigan State lost at home to, probably even hungrier than maybe Carolina will be, and obviously Carolina is not at full strength. So I'll go with Michigan State.
CJ Moore covers college basketball for The Athletic. He's the best college basketball writer in the country. We always enjoy having him on for the Big 12 basketball breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk on Thursdays throughout the season. CJ, always a pleasure. Look forward to next time.
All right, thanks, man. See you.
That is CJ Moore. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Not a lot of time for this segment as we wrap up the 4 o'clock hour on 580 Sports Talk. Let's just tell you about the 5 o'clock hour. We got our sports headlines coming up. And Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, is going to join us. Mitch was at the scouting combine. We'll ask him about his experiences in Indianapolis. We'll ask him if he went to St. Elmo's. We'll, of course, also ask him about the fallout from the Chiefs trading Trent McDuffie to the Los Angeles Rams. Voice of the Chiefs will join us at 5:25. So we hope you'll stay with us for one final hour of this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday. Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis rocking with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our streaming video channels, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and WIBW News on Facebook. Here with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Again, at 7 o'clock tonight, we got Royals baseball from the Cactus League. No Bobby or Salvi or Vinny or Jack or a lot of familiar names, but players employed by the Kansas City Royals will play baseball against players employed by the Texas Rangers tonight. It's a 7 o'clock broadcast start. We'll have it for you right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9, followed by a tape-delayed edition of the K-State Coaches Show, which tonight will feature interim head men's basketball coach Matt Driscoll and Pete Hughes, the head coach of the K-State baseball team. While we're at it, we may as well set the table for the rest of your weekend. Should also tell you that in about 40 minutes or so, pregame coverage from the MIAA tournament will be over on our sister station, your home of the Ichabods, Country 106.9. The Washburn men taking on Central Oklahoma in quarterfinal action at Municipal Auditorium. Brendan Brzezinski courtside and Mike side for that one. Tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. pregame, 11 o'clock tip. K-State trying to see if the glass slipper still fits at the T-Mobile Center as they defeated Texas Tech today. They will play Oklahoma State in quarterfinal action at the Big 12 basketball tournament. Another morning tip-off, basketball for brunch at the T-Mobile Center with Jeff Mitty and the Wildcats. 10:30 a.m. pregame, 11 o'clock tip. At 2 p.m. tomorrow, pregame coverage of the Washburn women at the MIAA tournament on Country 106.9. Washburn women will be taking on Pitt State in their quarterfinal action. Then tomorrow night, 5:45 or 5:40-ish, really, pregame coverage. 6 o'clock tip from the Charger Dome. We'll have high school basketball sub-state championship action from Class 5A. Topeka West taking on Bishop Carroll. High school basketball scoreboard show. We'll set half of the state brackets for you on Friday night at 10 o'clock on the KIN, Kansas Information Network, flagship station here, 580 WIBW.
Back to the Royals for a second. You still got Jonathan India, Carter Jensen, Kyle Isbell, Drew Waters are in the lineup of those names. Of the people that Royals fans will know.
We'll get to Carter Jensen in our countdown to Royals opening day. He's number 22, and we're 22 days out. So more about Carter Jensen a little bit later on. Saturday, here, 580 WIBW. We've got K-State men's basketball regular season finale. It's against KU. It's senior day at Allen Fieldhouse, where K-State never wins anyway, and then KU never loses on senior day. So the deck is stacked, to say the least, against K-State. But you'll hear that game from the K-State Sports Network from Learfield, 12 o'clock pregame and a 1 o'clock tip-off. The K-State women win tomorrow. They'll play at 3 o'clock in the semifinals tomorrow. If the Washburn women win tomorrow, they'll play at 2:15 on Country 106.9. If the Washburn men win tonight, they'll play at 6 on Saturday. We've got a high school sub-state doubleheader on Saturday night with a 4:40 pregame start. At 5 o'clock, it'll be 5A girls action, Shawnee Heights against Pittsburgh. And then at 6:30, it'll be 2A boys action from Eskridge as Care Paravel faces St. Mary's. We'll have another high school basketball scoreboard show to wrap up Saturday and set the table for all of the state tournament action at 10 o'clock on Saturday. Sunday's a log jam. We'll have our first broadcast of K-State baseball from the K-State Sports Network this season. The Wildcats playing the final game of their home series against SIU Edwardsville, 12:30 pregame, 1 o'clock first pitch from Toynton Family Stadium here on 580 WIBW. And then we'll have, after that, either the Big 12 championship game, if K-State women make it that far, or top 10 matchup from Ann Arbor as Michigan takes on Michigan State. We would carry that from Compass Media Networks if K-State does not play on Sunday. Then we got the Summit League championship game. I'm not up on the bracket in the Summit League, but we're going to start championship week off with the Summit League championship game Sunday night, 7:45 pregame from Westwood 1 here on 580. The championship game times for the Washburn women and men, should they advance to Championship Sunday at Municipal Auditorium. The women's game would be at 1. The men's game would be at 3:30. Get it? Got it? Good. There will not be a quiz later, I promise, because I'd fail it if I weren't looking at the calendar right now. Start with the simple stuff. Royals baseball tonight. K-State women tomorrow morning. And then we'll reconvene and we'll go through all of it again when we get together on 580 Sports Talk tomorrow. So, coming up this hour, I mentioned we'll continue our countdown to Royals opening day in about 15 minutes. Mitch Holthus will join us. Be great to catch up with the voice of the Chiefs for the first time this offseason. But we begin this 5 o'clock hour, as we always do, with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Before we get there, quick reminder, you can text the program, 785-272-9429. You can also interact in the live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. First headline, what about those K-State women? They were down 14 with 7.5 minutes to play to the number 5 seed and the 17th ranked team in the country, Texas Tech, at the Big 12 tournament. And then they just decided, well, what if we just don't let them score the rest of the night?
Well, Jeff Vinny did call a timeout.
He did. He called a timeout, and he had an idea. And his idea was, what if y'all don't let them score the rest of the game? And his players were like, all right, coach, sounds like a good plan. And then they didn't. A 21-0 run in the final 7 minutes and 27 seconds to give K-State the upset, 58-51, the final score. So the Wildcats are moving on to the quarterfinals. They will play the number 4 seed Oklahoma State, again, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., 10:30 pregame here on 580 WIBW. KU will hope to join them and pull a similar upset tonight. The Jayhawk women handled UCF last night, 56-35. Jalea Davis with a double-double. Big shock there. They play Colorado, the number 6 seed, tonight. That game scheduled for an 8 o'clock tip-off at the T-Mobile Center. So we'll see if both Sunflower State teams can pull upsets on day 2 of the Big 12 women's basketball tournament.
For those that don't remember, K-State women knocked off Oklahoma State in Manhattan, 70-61 back on February 10th. So, and I said this yesterday in our headlines, the 2 teams that they knew were ahead of them, they'd already beaten. So they've already taken down one of those teams. Now they got another team they know how to beat it. They know how to beat. So their path is pretty easy to Saturday. Not easy, but they know their path to Saturday.
They're playing with confidence. They're shooting the bejesus out of the ball. Maybe not so much today as they did in that 17 3-pointer barrage in the opening round against Cincinnati. But, playing with confidence. They're a young team that knows they have nothing to lose, and sometimes that's the most dangerous team in a conference tournament setting like this. So K-State women tomorrow at 11 in the quarterfinals. And again, the KU women hope to join them. They play Colorado tonight at 8 p.m. Give me another headline, Spencer.
We've got another trade in the NFL. The Bills have landed a new top target for Josh Allen. They've agreed to a trade with the Bears to acquire wide receiver DJ Moore, according to Adam Schefter. Buffalo is sending a 2026 second-round pick to Chicago in exchange for Moore in a 2026 fifth-round selection. The Bills will be guaranteeing $15.5 million of Moore's $23.5 million base salary in 2026. Moore's $23.5 million base salary is fully guaranteed. His 2027 base salary, also at $23.5 million, becomes fully guaranteed next week. The trade,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, the trade cannot officially be processed until the new league year begins next Wednesday.
So how you feel about this trade probably depends on, do you think DJ Moore is still a number 1 wide receiver? I don't. He was not the number 1 option in Chicago's passing game last year, and his numbers slipped accordingly. A career low, 50 receptions on 85 targets, even though he played all 17 games. A career low, 682 receiving yards. Did have 6 touchdowns. I'm not going to sit here and tell you DJ Moore is a bad player. I don't think that at all. But is he really the number 1 wide receiver that Josh Allen has been missing? I don't know that that's the case. And they're going to pay him like a number 1 wide receiver, guaranteeing all that money for the next 3 years, effectively. And give the soon-to-be 29-year-old all that guaranteed money over the next 3 seasons, I think he helps the Bills. I don't think this is the kind of trade where you feel like, they've got the final infinity stone for Josh Allen. Like, I still don't feel like they have a number 1 wide receiver. Yeah. I feel like he gives them a solid 2. I feel like Khalil Shakir is like a really good 3. Keon Coleman, I think, would be an awesome number 2 for like the Houston Roughnecks. I'm surprised
so mean over there.
Surprised he's still on their roster, to be honest. They don't even like him. They're ready to get rid of him. That's not just me being mean for meanness sake, but obviously it's been well known they've needed receiver help, and Brandon Beane, their general manager, has been super defensive about not addressing the wide receiver position for all these years. So now he finally goes and he makes a big move, but I think they are overpaying. I think they're overpaying in salary with all that guaranteed money. I think they're overpaying in draft capital, giving away a second-round pick. I would not feel that way if I thought DJ Moore was the number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, I just, he's about to be 30, right?
Yeah. And coming off of a, career low season.
But I think that career low season also comes because the other talent that the Bears had, right? Like, you say career lows, but it's because the Bears employ how many good receivers?
Well, yeah, there's more targets to go around.
Yeah,
Rome Odunze led the team in targets.
And Rome Odunze went to college with Caleb Williams, right?
No, you're thinking of Michael Penning. Odunze went to Washington. But yeah, you got to spread the wealth.
They came in together, though. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So,
like Colson Loveland got 80+ targets. Luther Burden and Olamide Zaccheaus each got 60+.
They have 2 tight ends that are good too, right?
Yeah, Cole Kmet got 48 targets last year. They did. They spread the rock around a little bit under Ben Johnson.
I think he knew what was happening last year. I don't think he expected to have a huge year.
But here's the thing, though. If DJ Moore were like that dude, like if he were a player the caliber of the other player that the Bills have been rumored to try and acquire really since mid-season last year when he was disgruntled with the Eagles, was A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
Like, A.J. Brown is a number 1. You're not going to see, we're not going to throw A.J. Brown the ball because I got to get more targets for whoever wide receiver 3 is with the Eagles. And God, I know his name. And I'm blanking. The little guy. Rager.
Jaylen Rager?
Yeah. It was him, wasn't it?
Are you talking about Jahan Dotson?
Maybe I am. Maybe it was Dotson last year. But anyway, you get the point. Like, you're not going to see his target level slip because he's A.J. Brown. You get him the ball. I don't think DJ Moore is that kind of receiver. It's not to say he's not still a good player, but I don't think he's the kind of guy, now we got a game plan for DJ Moore. He makes a receiving core better, but this is not like, we finally went and got Josh Allen a number 1 wide receiver. But the Bills are acting like it with how much money they spent in the process.
The way you're describing this just feels like Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
A little bit. Like they never, eventually they get him Devontae Adams.
Yes, but I'm saying, just when you said Brandon Beane never goes after a top wide receiver.
Well, he doesn't. And then
I thought, I was like,
when he got challenged on it, did you hear that? Remember that radio interview he did last offseason where there was a radio host in Buffalo who said, why don't you address this position? And Brandon Beane pushed back on him and raised his voice, and the whole thing got super defensive about how they evaluate the wide receiver position. So, yes, did they get better at wide receiver? Yes. Is DJ Moore number 1 wide receiver? I don't think so. So that's why I think they made an overpay today. Next headline for me. Topeka's is a bowling town. You've heard Rick Peterson say it over and over again on this program. Yesterday, Washburn Rural girls runner-up, girls individual runner-up, Megan Glinka, boys individual state champion, Cody Spangler. Today, 2 first-place state championship bowling trophies are coming back to the capital city. The Shawnee Heights boys win their 2nd state title in Class 5A in 3 years, winning by 103 pins over Bishop Carroll. And Seaman utterly dominates the 5A girls bowling state championships, their 2nd title in 5 years, winning by 358 pins over Emporia. Congratulations, the Shawnee Heights boys, the Seaman girls state bowling champions for 2026. Next headline.
Where do we want to go? Okay. There was a coach, California,
I don't know that we have enough time for
I
this
guess
headline.
we don't have that.
Because
it could have been what is wrong with you.
It really could have been. I want to do justice to the coach being a pimp, Coach Pimp, assistant coach
Rod
Pimp.
Barnes.
Yeah, I really want to do justice to this story, and maybe we'll make some room for it after Mitch comes on. But yeah, Coach Pimp.
Excuse me, Kevin Mays, a.k.a. Coach Pimp.
Sorry, assistant coach Pimp.
Yes.
Very, very important distinction. How about this last one before we get to Mitch here? Providence is going to fire their head coach, Kim English. So we got a second major conference college basketball coaching vacancy. Kim English is going to finish out this year at Providence, including the conference tournament, and then they're going to go in a different direction. 3 years at Providence for the former Missouri Tiger. Kim English never quite worked out, never did put together a quality year there at Providence. So Providence, after Kansas State's the next team, have a vacancy for this coming coaching carousel. Let's get out. Mitch Holtus is going to join us next, the voice of the Chiefs on 580 Sports Talk. 526 on 580 Sports Talk, and we are pleased to be joined by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, whose appearances on 580 Sports Talk are brought to us by Hy-Vee, your official tailgate headquarters for Kansas City Chiefs football, and by Azure Credit Union, where you can contact Crystal Rippey or Naseem Khan about the credit union advantage for your next home loan. Mitch, I know you just got back from the NFL scouting combine, so I have to ask you one question about your trip to Indianapolis. Did you go to St. Elmo's?
Oh, yeah. You didn't see the reel that the Chiefs put out on the Chiefs app. I think it's got, I don't know how many thousands of views, but the first day it had 16,000. I'm sure it's up over that. I haven't checked it lately, but that gives you, after I'm done in a break, you'll have to find it. Easy to find, but it's Matt McMullen and I at St. Elmo's tasting the sweet nectar of the shrimp cocktail. By the way, I love shrimp cocktail.
It looks delicious. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay, you see me there. The line, and I'll steal it there, is the fine line between pain and ecstasy. And I was right there.
It is the talk of the scouting combine. More so, 40 times you can have your hand measurements. All I want to know is, did you make it to St. Elmo's or not? And I'm glad you got to have the shrimp cocktail. A little jealous, but very glad that you did. Mitch, we look forward to hearing more about your trip to Indianapolis and what you're hearing from the scouting combine, because that is what we originally planned to talk about with your visit to the program today. But earlier this week, the Chiefs traded Trent McDuffie. That trade is going to be made. The Chiefs are going to receive 4 draft picks in return for Trent McDuffie. We know the Chiefs are losing a good player, a great player. What kind of person is that locker room losing with Trent McDuffie going off to Los Angeles?
I don't want to be hyperbolic, but he's one of the most incredible people in my 33 years with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's extraordinary. He has got such a bright future after football. You know, it's not been an easy go for him, losing his brother early on, and the family's faced some other issues. Trent is just a magnificent person. As good as he is as a player, he's that good as a person. I'll just give you an example. You know, I do a fundraiser every spring in Smith Center, my hometown, to benefit the People's Heartland Foundation, the Home on the Range Cabin. I'll have 2, 3, 4 players go every year, fly them in there in a jet, kind of fun. But in 23, right after the Super Bowl victory in Super Bowl 57, McDuff went. And he acted like he had, and he's from LA, so let's take that as a precursor. He acted as if he lived in Smith Center all his life. And the people there fell in love with him just like we did, being around him for 4 seasons. But I'll just give you an example. He was so well-liked and so down home that one of the guys on the football team the next fall had texted me and said, could you get Trent to ask this girl to homecoming for me? Because she's really awesome, and I think that this might be the shot that I need. I'm like, I'm not going to ask Trent McDuffie to ask your girl to homecoming, okay? But that's the kind of that's how comfortable Trent made everybody feel. You know, some players will show up at anywhere and be uncomfortable and make everybody else feel uncomfortable. Trent was comfortable in any situation, and a phenomenal player. But I'm going to miss him, and I know the NFL is a transactional league, and we got a mother load of picks for it. It was good to see that, but it's not good to miss him. I will miss him very much.
Yeah, you always want to see both sides win a trade, and that's sort of what you encounter here. That the Chiefs do get an opportunity to add draft capital that is very valuable to them, but Trent McDuffie certainly valuable as a player and a presence in that locker room. The transaction that this immediately called to mind, I think, for most league observers and certainly for a lot of Chiefs fans, was the Chiefs' decision to trade Tyreek Hill for draft capital in 2022, and the calculus appearing to be the same, that faced with the choice between paying a player at a top of the market salary at their position or filling other needs with draft picks, the Chiefs chose the latter in the Tyreek Hill case, and are choosing the latter here with Trent McDuffie. Coming out of the combine, really even going into the combine for Brett Veach, but coming out of the combine, At which positions do you feel like the Chiefs are now in better position to restock the cabinet a little bit and rejuvenate their roster in much the same way they did with that 2022 class, of which, of course, McDuffie was a part?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer on March the 5th, only because I would like to have the free agency period go by first and to see where the Chiefs could go. This draft is generally thought, the 2026 draft, not to be won with a bunch of bona fide superstar Myles Garrett types, but there is some depth in the draft. And I think that my best way to answer your question on the 5th of March would be, prior to free agency, would be you're going to get you could get a real good edge rusher. At 9, what you want as a player is to be a Pro Bowl caliber player that is going to have an impact on snap 1, week 1 of the season. Now, even getting the 29th pick now because of the McDuffie trade in the first round, you also have the 40th pick and the 74th pick. That's for the top 75. Edge rusher has some depth. There's also depth at corner in this draft. That excites me, not only replacing McDuffie, but for finding players that can be more impactful. To me, a goal would be for the Chiefs to somehow look more like the Seahawks defense in 2026. Only 12 takeaways. We talk about the ability to get a pass rush. There was really a real weakness in coverage, sans McDuffie. And it's the over and over and over again, the repeated sequence of 3rd and 10 or more and teams making the first down. It cost the team five games. I could sit here without being like super imaginative and tell you that 11-6 was close if you get the defensive stops. Well, if you can get a really good corner here in this draft, and you hope that Christian Fulton will play like he did at the end of the year, and then have Noah Williams emerge at the other corner where he's got a Peanut Tillman kind of mentality. He's got to rock your world and knock the ball out. We've got to have that. No, the Chiefs have to have that in 2026. The other spot would be there's depth at wide receiver. Again, what are you wanting to get in a wide receiver? You want a 1,500-yard pass catcher? Yeah, it'd be great. Are you going to get that? But no, you can get an effective pass catcher. And then this is a right tackle festival. If Josh Simmons was in this draft and healthy, he'd be a top 5 pick. There just aren't left tackles in this draft, but there's this plethora of right tackles. Now, a thought here would be Jaylen Moore becomes your swing tackle, which I know he was in San Francisco. He's really not proven to be anything but that so far in his career. For example, if you put him in as your right tackle to start 2026, you're taking a big risk because he has not played at that level of commitment or expectation to be a starting right tackle. Now, if you get a really good right tackle out of this draft, which is very possible, at pick 40, at pick 29, even at pick 74, you got a shot at getting it done. Now, all of a sudden, you've got Josh Simmons hopefully ready to rock in his second year. Stuart Mati has proven he can play at a very high level at left guard, the best center in the league, a Pro Bowl right guard, and a potential Pro Bowler in a couple years at right tackle. And then Jaylen Moore becomes your 6th man. And then you do what everybody's been doing to us the last several years, and that is play 6 offensive linemen a lot and then play action pass and run the ball. Because we're seeing it with more frequency. Chargers, Broncos, Bills do it all the time. The guy waves his jersey, here comes a 6th offensive lineman, and it doesn't really limit their playbook as much. They just come in with an extra blocker. Well, the Chiefs, if they have that ability to do it in 2026, that could lead to a couple more wins.
We're joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, here, courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azure Credit Union. Mitch, you're listing off a bunch of those positions and specifically on offense, and one in which we don't necessarily know the outcome of who will be the starter in 2026 is tight end. Obviously, league year starts next week. We would anticipate Travis Kelce makes a decision here soon. Do you think the Chiefs front office has an inkling of what he's going to decide?
Well, Coach Reed and Brett Veach both told you publicly that there is communication. And so it's not going to be a surprise either way. And I think that continued communication is good. Now, you also have to figure out what is the price that Kels will play for in 2026, because the Chiefs just loosened up cap room, but they would like a lot of that cap room to be involved in free agent shopping starting as early as Sunday, Monday of next week with the legal tampering period, which is the weirdest thing I think in pro sports. But be it here or there, a tight end, this is a pretty good tight end class. So let me give you a couple. That Sadiq of Oregon, I think, is potentially elite. Now, he doesn't have the size of a Kelsey, but he can run the entire route tree. He's explosive, play in the slot, give you mismatches. More of what we're seeing now in the league with a Dalton Schultz type, or those kind of players, more of a move tight end than an inline tight end. But there are other guys. Eli Stowers of Vanderbilt is a guy that comes to mind, a converted quarterback who did a really good job at the combine. Stowers can come in and give you an immediate week one impact in morphing into your system and in your offense. Gaylenberg, the kid from Wyoming, who's a local kid. He played at Rockhurst. His dad, I just did a presentation for the Kansas City Bar Association. His dad was super involved. He goes, well, you're going to see my son here pretty soon in the draft. But there's several tight ends that would fit the Chiefs' offensive scheme and approach that could be a complement to Kels or become a new Kels or a complement to Noah Gray.
Mitch Holthus is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk. He joins us courtesy our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, Brett Veach spoke about two positions in particular that the Chiefs know that they need to hone in on this offseason and add to. And you spoke about running back a little bit, and that's one certainly where every running back on the team, other than Brashard Smith, is a free agent. So obviously there's a lot of room to add to that depth chart. But the other one was defensive line, and that's another position where there's just not a lot of returning players. After Mike Dana's release, there are even fewer. The edge position has some big-time talents that might not be available at number 9, but a lot of depth at that position in the draft that could be appealing late first, early second round. But now that the Chiefs have done a lot of maneuvering salary cap wise in the last handful of days, do you think that is where they might be the most aggressive looking to add in free agency? Is that maybe where Brett Veach is going to be most focused on adding not just starting caliber players, but important depth? Really add to and fill out their depth chart?
Excellent question. And I would say that it's a close second to running back. I think running back would be at the top of the list, and then an inside defender on the defensive line would be a close second. Now, let's go back to the question, though, of where the Chiefs are setting and this overall draft look at 2026 and what it's about. It's why it was key to get 29 in the McDuffie trade, because at 29, hear me out on this, you could get, and having 29 and 40, you could get a starting rookie, two-gap type defensive lineman, basically a younger, maybe more athletic version of Derek Nottie at 29 or 40. And if you want to take something else at 29, like wide receiver, then at 40, you have the luxury of taking that starting defensive lineman. And if it works out right, and let's say you get an edge rusher, a Desmond Bain Jr. at 9, and you get a defensive lineman at 40, now you've made a big stride forward, and then maybe a lesser expensive free agent to join the defensive line. But you picked up a running back, Travis Etienne or Tyler Algier, or maybe even Kenneth Walker at running back. Now you're getting in a spot where you can take the rest of the picks and have a little more luxury instead of being so position specific. But it's key to have 29 and 40 in specific when you look at that position, the inside defensive line.
Last one for you, Mitch. I know that when Veach spoke to assembled media before the start of the combine, he talked about the challenge of this offseason, going from what he described as kind of maintaining the roster to now doing a little bit of restocking and trying to get the level of talent all across the roster back up. Do you sense that this is energizing for this Chiefs front office, or do you sense maybe that they feel a little bit of pressure going into this offseason, knowing how rare this opportunity to pick this high in the draft is or should be while Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, and the understanding of that desire to get right back as soon as possible to a Super Bowl level? What would you describe as the vibe around Brett Beach and the scouting department and this Chiefs offseason, or in this Chiefs front office entering this offseason?
My answer would be both, because I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think it's an and instead of an or, because first of all, I'll take your latter inference. There's always going to be pressure around this team. As long as Mahomes is the quarterback, Reed's the coach, and Beach is the general manager, and you've had the level of success, sans last year going 6-11, there's always going to be pressure around this team. Can they return? Can they return at elite level? Or can they return as being a favorite, if not somebody that's going to be involved in the AFC race? That's always going to be there. That'll be there from the first second at the start of the season at training camp. However, and this has been one of the byproducts of, and I grew up on a farm, and many times in Smith County when we would grow up, we had to fallow the field, meaning you were in a crop rotation, but you didn't always plant a field to a crop because you wanted the soils and the moisture to build up in the soil. Now, the reason I say that is this feels like a bit of a fallowing for the Chiefs by not making the playoffs. It has energized this team because we're not sitting here just ground into the dirt with bald tires of trying to fight it out to get another Super Bowl. And so it has been a plus for everyone to back off and look and then dig in to reboot to start to build the next group. It's what happened in 2022. We just happened to win the Super Bowl after that, and you alluded to the Tyreek Hill trade. It's very similar to that, although the Chiefs were in the playoffs, but it was a disappointing AFC championship loss to the Bengals. Now, it's that kind of feel, but even a little bit more energy because the Chiefs weren't worn out by some long playoff run, and it has allowed the team to be very introspective, and I do sense a little bit more juice for the team to attack the 2026 free agency and the draft.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joins us as a courtesy of our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. It is great to hear your voice in this offseason, Mitch. Makes football seem not all that far away. We'll catch up again real soon as we get closer to the NFL draft.
Let me tell you what I also picked up from the Combine. It's not as much about 40-yard dashes or shuttle runs. It's more all of the conversation that goes on. One thing we can maybe go on in a couple of weeks again, but the medicals, if people find our podcasts from the Combine and our live stream that we had a week ago, portrayal of what a player's medical is like and what they're about, because some of these guys now go to 3 high schools and 4 colleges. It has really made it more difficult and convoluted to get a good read on a player. The Combine is about that. Plus, it's also about the wink, wink, nod, nod. Oh, it's the agent for the, hey, Ralph, what's going on? Hey, what are you thinking about Leo Sano? What, it's the whole, the old Jerry Maguire scenes where you're bumping into the guy's agent, like, well, hey, what do you think about Dan Lucero? Like, would you sign him, or, what do you think? What are you thinking? Like, there's a zillion conversations like that. It's the informal conversations that the Combine, to me, is all about. It was fascinating.
My 40 time would not be pretty, Mitch Holtus. I could tell you that right now.
Well, I bet your interview would be at least halfway compelling.
I would like to think so as well. Mitch, you are always compelling when we have you on 580 Sports Talk. Thanks for the time, and we'll catch up soon.
All right, man. See you guys.
That is Mitch Holtus. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk after this. 548 on 580 Sports Talk. Our thanks again to the great Mitch Holthus for joining us here on the program today. He's just the best. He's the best. Nobody like Mitch. We appreciate him taking the time this offseason to come on, tell some combine stories. And
that reel was good.
I'm going to have to go check that out. Give us a great Trent McDuffie story there as well, and some perspective on that trade.
I did not realize how far, even from here, Smith Center is.
Yeah, it's not close.
Until he said that, and I was like, put that in perspective, and I looked it up. I said, from here, it's like 4 hours, 3.5 or something.
Yeah, no easy way to get there from here. I mean, not like it's hard, not like it's hidden on some like back roads or anything. Like you can find it.
It's just not down I-70.
Yeah. Kansas is a big state, as it turns out.
Yeah.
Having driven the length of it many times, I can tell you it's a big state, and that's for sure. But again, our thanks to Mitch Holtus, all our great guests joining us today on 580 Sports Talk. We got some Royals baseball coming up tonight. The Royals and the Rangers from Surprise, 7 o'clock. Pre-game coverage, 7:05 first pitch.
Cole Reagans gets the ball.
Cole Reagans is on the bump tonight. It will be streamed for free at Royals.tv. It'll be the first broadcast of the Royals.tv, the first broadcast of the new broadcast home of the Royals with no more FanDuel Sports. So I don't know what that means for cable subscribers or satellite subscribers who might have had FanDuel Sports. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn on my TV and watch it tonight.
I don't believe so.
But you can watch it on your phone. You can watch it on your computer for free.
Yeah, the MLB at Bat app.
Yeah, watching the MLB at Bat app for free.
I think you have to sign. You have to have an account. You don't have to pay for it.
No,
you can just have an MLB at Bat account.
Yeah,
like when you
have
get
an
the
MLB,
app, you have to have an account.
You should have an MLB account. It's how you can like buy tickets and play like the baseball player version of Wordle and all that fun stuff. Anyway, that's how you can watch Royals baseball tonight. But if that all sounds like too much work, just turn on your radio. 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. 22 days until Royals opening day. Royals open on March 27th in Atlanta against the Braves. Current number 22 for the Royals is in the lineup tonight, Carter Jensen. You know that they liked him because they gave him a real number in September last year when they called him up.
Yeah.
Like, they really, really think he's going to be around for the long haul because they didn't call him up and make him wear like number 72. Yeah, something like that. No, they gave him a real number, and Carter Jensen's going to keep that number, I think, for a long time to come for the Kansas City Royals. The Royal who wore it first was Jim Rooker, who he wore a lot of different numbers. Jim Rooker wore 2 different numbers in the first season of Royals baseball, 1969. He wore 4 different numbers in 4 seasons.
Wow.
As a Royal. Clearly did not care what jersey number he had. Somebody else wanted the one on his back. He said, fine. This was the early 70s, so he's probably like, give me $10. Give me 50
$10 and some smokes.
Yeah, give me $50 and a sixer of Schlitz for my number. Anyway, Jim Rooker was the first to wear it. The Royal who wore it best was Dennis Leonard, with all 144 of his career wins coming in Royal Blue and with the number 22 on his back. David Cone did wear it in his Cy Young Award-winning season of 1994. So a special shout to David Cone, who wore 17 in 1993 when the Royals acquired him in a trade, but then switched after Kevin McReynolds left the team. McReynolds was wearing 22. David Cone took his number 22, won a Cy Young with it. So it's a number with neat history in Royals history. Dennis Leonard, David Cone, Carter Jensen, number 22. Final word coming up next on 580 Sports Talk. Time for a final word on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, give me what you got.
Yeah, shout out to Kansas State women's basketball. That 21-0 run, fun to listen to on the radio today because I have ESPN Plus on my TV from a buddy. I'm just gonna say, but I can't watch it anywhere else. So I was listening to the radio broadcast on my computer, and that was so fun to listen to. I think Bryan Smoller, that's who.
Yeah,
he had a great call on the radio today. You can hear him again tomorrow on the call as well for their game against Oklahoma State. That should be a good one to listen to.
Final word for me is I think the Chiefs are going to have to do something they haven't done since 2017, and that's give a second contract to somebody in their secondary. We obviously know it's not going to be Trent McDuffie, understandably so. He was the most valuable piece that the Royals or the Chiefs could trade, and they traded for a haul, 4 draft picks. Couldn't say no to a deal like that. But now the current state of the depth chart at both cornerback and safety is such that I don't think the Chiefs can address it acceptably, and I don't think they can build a defensive line good enough to make it matter less in one offseason, even with an outlay of significant free agent dollars and draft capital, that they're going to have to bring back somebody with some know-how, somebody with some skill, and somebody with some experience in the scheme. And that's either Bryan Cook or Jaylen Watson. My suspicion is that Cook will be back. And I think that might have happened even if Trent McDuffie had remained a Chief. But I think if Cook doesn't come back, you're really in a bad spot at safety. Unless there's a free agent safety that the Chiefs are absolutely in love with and think that they can replace Bryan Cook and get equal or better production from at a similar or lower price point. And I don't really honestly know who that would be. I think Bryan Cook's going to be back in the Chiefs uniform, and we'll have a different answer to the question, who was the last Chiefs defensive back to get a second contract, here in about a week or so. That'll do it for 580 Sports Talk today. We are back tomorrow from 3 until 5:40 when we'll break away for some more high school hoops. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. This has been 580 Sports Talk. Royals baseball at 7. Washburn basketball on right now on Country 106.9. This has been 580 Sports Talk. We will talk to you tomorrow. Until then, good night.